Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And every Sunday I do a video on here, a series called Soulful Sundays. I love Sundays, I talk about that every week. Sundays are my favorite day of the week. I get to spend the whole day with my husband, and I also feel like it's a day to kind of refresh and rejuvenate for the week ahead. So I always kind of like to do a video over here on Soulful Sundays where we talk about something that we can carry into the week ahead with us. You know, some kind of lesson that we can remember every day. And it's interesting because usually the video that I do over here, I watch a couple times back throughout the week just to remind myself of like the meditation that I talk about. I usually read a meditation, and today I'm going to read from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone. It's one of my favorite books. Typically what I do is I go through the week ahead or, behind and pick out my favorite meditation from that week. So this is kind of an interesting meditation that I'm choosing to read today because it's called Desire. If men could regard the events of their own lives with more open minds, they would frequently discover that they did not really desire the things they failed to obtain. Andre Morose. We desire things we think will make us happy. Maybe it's something we want to own, a larger house, for example, or maybe it's something we want to do, swim the English Channel. But often, fulfilling our desires is less satisfying than we'd imagined. Why is this so? Some of the things we think we want exist largely in our imagination. No reality could ever compete with the fantasy we've created about the objects of our desire. I will not let my desire for things I don't have keep me from appreciating those I do. There's a good chance I don't really want some things as much as I think I do. You know, it was interesting when I was reading this because my mind immediately went to Christmas. I don't know why. Because I always get this huge buildup for Christmas, right? And it has nothing to do with gifts. I could care less about all that. I think you get to a certain age where it's more about the giving than it is about the receiving. I always have this build-up for Christmas of what Christmas is going to be like, and, being with my family and this and that, it's going to be, we're going to have a white Christmas and 2 feet of snow and all this kind of stuff. I always get very excited about Christmas. And I love Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve is like my favorite part of Christmas. But then on Christmas Day at about 6 p.m., I kind of get sad, I'm like, well, it's all over now. Well, what next? New Year's? And then it's weird, from Thanksgiving, really after Halloween, all the way to Christmas, I'm ready for snow. And I live in Indiana, so we get a lot of snow here. But I'm ready for snow, and I always want a white Christmas. Well, what's interesting about Indiana is that a lot of times it doesn't snow until like January or February, right? We don't get any real snows till then. So it's kind of iffy if we're going to have a white Christmas, and typically if we do, it's just like a sprinkling of snow, but that's really what I want. But then 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. on Christmas Day night, I'm ready for the snow to be gone. I'm ready to take the Christmas tree down. I don't want to have, any more snow. I'm ready to move on to the next thing and have it be spring and for us to go to Miami, for Ultra Music Festival and all that kind of stuff. So I have this build-up, but then as I was sitting there thinking about it, and this is how my mind works, see? I talk about this like red thread that feeds through life. My friend gave me this bracelet yesterday, and I don't know much about it. She's Indian, and she told me that it was that one sibling gives it to another sibling out of sibling love. It has something to do with like this end of summer holiday. I don't know anything more about it, so I'm not going to talk as if I do. But anyway, I thought that was really nice. It has beads and stuff on it. So anyway, she was like, I love you like a brother, so I'm going to give you this bracelet. But anyway, this is how my mind kind of works, because I believe there's like this thread that like blue thread, red thread, whatever, I've said both, that weaves through life and connects things. There's a connectivity to things, right? And so I was thinking about the meditation, talking about desiring things that we want to have. And I'm not above that. I can be very superficial at times, and there are things that I want, and there are things that I would love to have, And material things. And I try not to get rooted in that anymore, because I've learned through time that things are nice and there's a lot of things I want, but once I get them, I don't really feel a whole lot different than I did before I had them, if that makes sense. So I've kind of had to work through that. And I've talked a lot in my vlog about working through paying off debt. When you're paying off debt, you realize very quickly what you need and what you want. And I realized very quickly when I was doing that there were a lot of things I don't need, And so anyway, the material things to me today aren't the same. But I will tell you that there are a lot of things I wish for in life. Like, certain kinds of relationships with friends that I have. Or, that relationships in my life that would have worked out differently, like with friends. I've had friends of mine that were not friends anymore over some silly stuff, And places that I could go, and it talks about traveling in here, you know, or I don't know, you know, having the house paid off, whatever it is that you want in life, you know, or maybe driving your dream car, stuff like, it can even go into that material stuff. But as I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was thinking about Christmas, what I was really thinking about was expectations. And what it is this desire to have a life that looks a certain way. So it's not necessarily that we desire, you know, material goods or objects, okay? It's a desire, I mean, that's true, we do, you know? If my husband was sitting right next to me and he's sitting upstairs listening, I'm sure he would probably say, no, I really do like to get a new pair of shoes, and I really do like this and do like that. But the reality is, it is also a desire to have a certain, you know, standard of living where we can afford to have those kinds of things, where that's not a problem, it's not an issue, you know what I mean? And so I think it's an expectation for what our lives should look like, just like it's an expectation for me that Christmas should be perfection, which how many of us have ever had a perfect Christmas? Not many of us, right? So I think like it's that expectation that we build up. Well, then when we look at desire as being setting too high of expectations, and I'm kind of talking this out loud to learn from it myself, but then when we look at desire as setting too high of expectations, that we want something that is not realistic for what we can really have, and we're always going to like fall short of that, whether it be a relationship with a certain person, a relationship, you know, with a friendship, a job, whatever it is, if we have this really high expectation for that, right, and it falls short of that, then our desire is constantly us setting the expectation too high in life. Then, like I've talked about in other videos, then what we need to do is we need to lower our expectations. We need to bring them down, right, and have real expectations. And, you know, I had a friend of mine in my life that I wasn't getting along with her and things like that, and she and I were really going through some tough times. And, you know, I was with my friend Tanya, and we would talk about it, and I would say, I don't know what to do. And she'd say, you need to lower your expectations. And I would say, I've lowered my expectations. And she'd say, you need to lower them more. And I said, how far do I need to lower my expectations? And she'd say, as far as you can go. And that's not the only time I've had that conversation with Tanya. I mean, we've had that conversation with about several people, and yet I still don't learn that lesson. It's like I need to be taught and reminded that lesson over and over again, that I need to lower my expectations for people. Because I wouldn't want people to have super high expectations for me either. I'm human, you know? I have faults. I'm going to mess up in life, right? And so I think that really this desire a lot of times, or why we don't feel fulfilled in our life from relationships and jobs and whatever, is really our desire for this expectation that can never be met. Does that make sense? Like, you know, and I know some people get frustrated when I say, does that make sense? But really I'm saying to myself, does that make sense? Yes, Peter, that makes sense. Okay, so for me, so for me, that's going to start being included in every video. That's my aha moment. But, you know, for me, I was like sitting there, I was kind of like thinking it through after I read the meditation. People ask me all the time, how do you do these meditations? Well, I read them, and then I just kind of sit there for a couple minutes and I really think about it. And I thought, okay, well, if your desire to drive a Range Rover is similar to your desire to have this perfect job back in the day, right? Then your desire to have this Range Rover of having enough money to be able to afford that and drive that is similar to this job that pays a lot, has these hours, these kinds of benefits. So it's kind of chasing the desire for the same things, right? So then we need to lower our expectations a little bit. And really, what do we lower our expectations to with desire? Well, for me, and I can only speak for myself, I have to lower my expectations to what are my needs and what are my wants, my desires. You know, what is it that I need in life? Well, I don't need a Range Rover. I need a car that will actually work and get me around and be safe to drive in. I don't need a job that's going to pay me $300,000 a year and is going to have the best benefits in the entire world and give me, you know, 2 months of vacation time. Would that be nice? Absolutely. So would a Range Rover, but I don't need it. I need a job that I'm happy at, and that's even a luxury. I need a job where I'm making, you know, okay money to pay my bills, that I have a supervisor that understands if I need to be sick because I have epilepsy, so if I need to go to the hospital, I need to do that. And there are certain things I need, but they're not wants. And so I have to lower my expectations down to what are my needs and what are my desires. And when I start looking at things that way, about anything in life, okay, whether it's Christmas or relationship or vacation or whatever, I think I could be a lot happier in life. I used to get really, really excited, and I still do. I love to travel, and we have 2 trips planned. We're going to Connecticut here very soon for a work conference for my husband, and then we're going to Las Vegas for our anniversary in August, and I'm really excited about both vacations. I get, you know, hyped up about it, but I don't get the way that I used to get. And I used to get so excited. I mean, I would just be consumed with it, right? That then when we were like the day, you know, before the vacation being over, I kind of went through this like meltdown inside, and when I came back, it was like re-entry just killed me. I don't feel that way anymore, you know? I don't have this expectation that this is going to be the vacation of all vacations. I don't have this idea that there won't be more vacations in the future, you know what I mean? And so if I don't have this expectation that this will be the vacation to end all vacations, then I'm never let down. If I go into it believing I'm going to have a really good time with my husband, you know, we're going to experience some new things, this is going to be fun, and see a new place, and it's going to be relaxing, well then when I go into it, if something marvelous happens, you know, then I'm really excited about that. And it's very much like, you know, realizing over time, well, maybe I could afford to drive a Range Rover if I, you know, if I'm making that kind of money. Or, hey, I did get this job that pays me a good amount of money, has excellent benefits, and all of this that goes along with it. Then, if my expectation is here, but this is what I get, wow, what a surprise that is. And I think life, to be lived that way, is easier, not only because you're not feeling like you're failing and people or things are failing you, but then you also feel like you're meeting your expectation and so much more, and life feels completely fulfilling. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I know what you mean, Peter. So anyway, yes. Store. All right, you guys, I love you. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you tomorrow at the start of a new week. Bye.